All right, so this is week 11 of the weekly Sonneteer. And, the past couple of weeks we've been looking at poetry, which is sort of like in reference to nature and the way that we move through nature. And so I thought that with this week it was time to go somewhere else because not everybody is obsessed with nature poems, right? And so this week we are going to the grocery store. Okay, this week's sonnet takes us to the grocery store. Yeah, you can find the link below for this one, and this poem is titled Safeway. And Safeway, if you're not familiar with Safeway, Safeway is when I was growing up, that was a popular supermarket. It's basically Kroger's or Food City, Winn Dixie. It's a grocery store, right? Not a big one like Walmart, but so that's Safeway. So this poem is titled Safeway, and it's by Johan Dubrow. I I believe that's how you pronounce her name, Johan Dubrow or Dubrow. But I'm going to read her poem to you here, and you can follow along in the link there below. Safeway. I walk to Safeway where the air stays on and wander through the frozen foods. The cold glass coffins filled with meat and bonbons. The sacks of baby peas in their controlled electric winter. The biscuit dough in canisters. Most people hurry through the bluer parts to where the heat lamps glow. A slice of pizza warming there. They chew on freebie samples in the produce aisle. But I prefer the chill, the muffled whoosh of freezer doors pulled shut. Even the tile floor sounds quieter. I could live in the hush, among the juice concentrate and quick saute, where no one knows if it is night or day. I'll read it again for you. Safeway. I walk to Safeway, where the air stays on, and wander through the frozen foods. The cold glass coffins filled with meat and bonbons. The sacks of baby peas in their controlled electric winter. The biscuit dough in canisters. Most people hurry through the bluer parts to where the heat lamps glow. A slice of pizza warming there. They chew on freebie samples in the produce aisle. But I prefer the chill, the muffled whoosh of freezer doors pulled shut. Even the tile floor sounds quieter. I could live in the hush, among the juice concentrate and quick saute, where no one knows if it is night or day. So, let's look at this poem. As far as the structure goes, yeah, she's working mostly in iambic pentameter here, and for the most part, she's got a structured rhyme scheme going on. Now, occasionally, I don't know if she's just being a tad lazy or if she's trying to be more contemporary modern here. Occasionally, she screws with her rhyme scheme and her meter, right? And so, obviously, stays on and bonbons doesn't quite rhyme, although it's got this interesting, you've still got the on and the S sounds coming through in both of those rhymes. Stays on, bonbons, right? So it kind of rhymes, but it's also off. But cold and controlled rhyme, and so that's your ABAB in that first quartet, that first quatrain, I should say. And then the second quatrain, you have CD, CD, dough and glow rhyme, and through and chew rhyme. Although you've noticed she's still doing what some people would call a slant rhyme, which, although the sound rhymes exactly, uh, the spelling, it's like, the spelling is obviously not the same, but the sounds rhyme. And then that third quatrain, you've got aisle and tile and chew and whoosh. And here's where, with that third quatrain in those last two lines, she's kind of almost doing something Italian or Petrarchan here, because she's no longer going with the first and second lines rhyme with the third and fourth lines. Instead, it's um, aisle rhymes with tile, but whoosh, uh, Isle and tile rhyme. No, whoosh and hush rhyme. Whoosh and hush rhyme. I was confusing myself. So it's isle and tile and whoosh and hush. So it's EF, EF, right? Except whoosh and hush don't, I mean, it's, the rhyme, the end rhyme works, but the whole word whoosh hush doesn't quite rhyme. So she's playing around with it. And then saute and or day. Saute and day. Thankfully, saute being French there, it's got that little hyphenated E, which makes it rhyme with day, right? So there's your rhyme scheme, which again is kind of a slanted one, especially the first and third lines of the poem. As far as meter goes, she messes with this some. For the most part, it's iambic pentameter. I walk to Safeway where the air stays on and wander through the frozen foods, the cold. But then line 3, she gets a little careless / is like, I'm gonna mess around with this. Glass coffins filled with meat and bonds, and she doesn't wrap up that last foot, that last iamb. She doesn't complete it, nor does she carry it over. Sometimes I've seen people, they carry the foot over into the next line. And I do that a lot. Although I gotta confess, when I am doing that, it's usually because I feel like, being married and having a full-time job and having kids, I'm like, I don't have time to make this perfect. So I'm just gonna let that wrap over into the next line. I don't know if that's what she's doing here or not. But yeah, so bonds, and she just ends without completing that iamb. Then in the next line, she goes into the sacks of baby peas, and they're controlled, a perfect line of iambic pentameter, right? And then the fifth line, electric winter the biscuit, and then electric winter the biscuit. And that biscuit, that is not unstressed stressed. That is not the first line syllable unstressed, the second line stressed. And so there she lets the iambic pentameter slip again. And so throughout most of the poem, it is straight up iambic pentameter, but occasionally she's like, I'm going to let that slide. And is she intentionally doing it or just letting it slide? That's for you to decide. But she's certainly not being Shakespeare here, whereas like, I must make this iambic pentameter work, Although even occasionally Shakespeare lets his pentameter slip. So even the best of us, so that's kind of like structurally looking at the poem for you. Let's get into the fun part of it. Well, I mean, it's all interesting, but let's talk about the meaning of the poem, and just other aspects of it. I walk to Safeway where the air stays on and wander through the frozen foods. Where the air stays on. So when I read that, I'm like, she can walk to Safeway, so there's at least townhouses or maybe an apartment building near enough to Safeway for her to walk, right? And so maybe she lives in the big city. She says where the air stays on. Maybe the AC is controlled by her landlord in her apartment, and so it's not always on. So maybe it's summer and it's hot out, and she's like, you know what? The AC isn't working, or the landlord has turned it off for a while in my apartment building. So I'm gonna go find, she's middle or lower class here, and she's like, I gotta go find somewhere where the air is still on, the AC, and wander through the frozen foods, the cold. Or maybe she's just saying the AC is always on there versus, at home, not necessarily in her apartment, right? Where the air stays on, and I wander through the frozen foods, the cold glass coffins. Interesting term, right? Coffins filled with meat and bonbons. So there's all this dead food in there, right? It's not living. It's not a sheep walking around baying, right? It's not broccoli poking out of the ground in the garden. It's dead food. The cold glass coffins filled with meat and bonbons. The sacks of baby peas in their controlled electric winter. It almost makes me think of like, when you see in some sci-fi movies suspended animation, say 2001 A Space Odyssey, or conceivably, I don't know if 2001 A Space Odyssey is the first movie where you had this idea of people being put in suspended animation where they're like asleep and not aging, right? For long stretches of time so that their bodies will last while and not age while they're traveling to a new planet. Maybe 2001 A Space Odyssey is the first. If you haven't seen 2001, you should go watch it. But maybe that's the first movie where they experimented with that idea of suspended animation. I don't know. But the sacks of baby peas in their controlled electric winter, it just brought that to mind for me. You've got that going on some, I believe, in Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, and it's probably all through other science fiction. Uh, but the sacks of baby peas in their controlled electric winter, the biscuit dough in canisters, but this controlled electric winter, these coffins, think about what feeling does that give you as you read that. Most people hurry through the bluer parts to where the heat gland, the blue cold parts. Most people like get through those parts quickly. I know I do personally when I'm at the grocery store. I'm skinny, I'm thin, I'm tall. There's not, I don't stay warm very easily. So I try to hurry quickly through the bluer parts, the freezer sections. Hurry through the bluer parts to where the heat lamps glow, a slice of pizza warming there. Oh, that's comforting, that warm slice of pizza. Most people find that comforting, but she likes to hang out. They said they chew on freebie samples in the produce aisle, but me, I prefer the chill. The muffled whoosh. You know that sound. Hopefully you know that sound if you've ever been shopping for groceries, right? If not, you need to stop letting your mom buy all your groceries, right? And go do this. You just close and open those freezer doors, and there's like kind of a whooshing sound when the door closes. The muffled whoosh of freezer doors pulled shut. Even the tile floor sounds quieter in this section. Does it? You be the judge of that. I don't know. I'm trying to think about that. Does the floor sound quieter in the freezer section? And if so, is there something scientific about that? I don't know. She's like, I could live in this hush. Among the concentrated juice, among the quick saute, between these frozen items of food, I could live there in the hush. She likes the quietness of this freezer section, the coldness of it, right? The electric winter, the coffins, the blue parts. I could live here, she says, where no one knows if it is night or day. In a Safeway, a Kroger's, a Food City, you get in there and you're wandering around, you wouldn't know if it's night or day outside. There's no way to know, by the time you get to the freezer section. And so you could just live there and not know when it switches. Some of these places are open 24/7, right? So a question for you too, as you're leaving your comments down below. Something to think about is, does like is she going for anything deeper with these coffins, this electric winter? The wanting to live in the hush where no one knows if it is night or day. Oh, what do you think? Because I honestly don't know. Is she trying to hint at anything deeper, or is she just finding fun ways to describe stuff in a supermarket? Is she just being witty with the electric winter, the glass coffins, or is she trying to say hint at something deeper? So that's entirely up to you because I just don't know. But I would say on one last parting note, I would say that another reason this sonnet interests me is because, prior to probably Wordsworth, I guess pre-Wordsworth maybe, people thought that particularly sonnets, should be reserved for talking about romantic love. That was what you wrote sonnets about. And sometimes, you know, that would veer into the religious. You could also talk about religious themes because religious belief is kind of like, you know, depending on how you look at it, you can look at that as like a love relationship with God, right? That you can see the romantic in the religious. By the way, you might hear my kids laughing in the background. Um, but yeah, you know, again, prior to Wordsworth, it's like if you wrote a sonnet, it was a love poem. But after Wordsworth, Wordsworth kind of opens it up to where you can write about anything. You can write about any theme in a sonnet and it's accepted. We're not being so stuffy anymore about what you can write about. And here we have um, Dubrowell. Uh, she's writing. She's just writing about the grocery aisle here. Okay, and conceivably, you know, something deeper, but it's not romantic love. Yeah. Hey, unless you want to try and make that case. All right. I will see you next week. Bye.